if you take it into the mediation community, I'm not very sure whether Freud is relevant to mediation, because in the Singapore Center or elsewhere, I didn't hear much of this aspect. But then, having done my master's, some of these areas made a lot of sense in understanding some of the concepts and the process in mediation. So that's why I'm including it here. Yeah. So we have these defense mechanisms in mediation. So for the student community and for those just into awareness programs in mediation, so much of reading is not required, but if someone is interested, please go through. Now, what is repression? Repression is, supposing we have a painful memory, which we don't want to think about. It's pushed somewhere in our conscious. We don't even know this is existing, but this is playing its role in the way we are behaving. For example, if we are having some painful memory associated with the father in childhood, it may turn out that as an elder, we will be hostile to all authoritative figures. So when we find in the behavior, let us assume in the workplace, we find the person is very good in every other way, but we are having these issues of, disrespectful to authoritative figures and so on, then, just find out a little bit more if you can. Some of these are personal issues, but, keep this as a backdrop. And then the next is projection. If supposing one of the people in the fight is going on pointing fingers at the other person, he hates me, or he's done this to me, or she's like that, she or he always pointing fingers at others. Just find out a little bit about the person, whether he is a reflection, his behavior is a reflection of the behavior of the other person which he is criticizing. This is also another possibility. Of course, in simple awareness cases like what we dealt in the last session, so much of it is not required, but we have intense mediation sessions, 2 days, 3 days, then this comes into prominence. And even in the school situation, college, when teachers are going to be mediators, this is a very important aspect that we as teachers need to keep in mind, because the child or the student may not be able to express some of these things. And then we have this reaction formation. Like, for example, somebody hates somebody a lot, but then the person has no chance to express that hatred. So he substitutes that hatred with love. And the love is so exuberant, very expansive, and it is out of the ordinary. It's not normal. It doesn't go with the other persona of the other person. So even in such cases, there is when somebody is saying, I love this person so much, I do so much for the other person, I'm not saying that the stepmother in the other case study did not love the daughter. I'm not saying it. But if someone is expressing, and the other girl is saying, so much tussle is going on. Keeping in mind some of these areas is important. But don't have a judgment passed on a stepmother or whoever it is, that a person will be in a wrong place or doing wrong things. But this is just a basis for study of reaction formation. And then we also have this problem of fixation and regression, wherein, seemingly adult people, adult students, they regress to their child state. And on there is mention of issues of childhood or issues of earlier on in life, which are not in consonance with the present life. So normally, once one grows up or comes to a certain stage, we are in a present. A few times here and there is okay, but continuously, living or speaking of the past, then there is a need to understand what is it that is comforting to the person in that regress state or past state. Is there something in the present or in the fight state that he or she is in currently? Is there any such issue or problem that is so overwhelming to the person? We can even use the word trauma for this. The meaning of trauma is, please make a note, trauma is not, it is the response of a person to an event. The event can be the same for anybody, but how the person responds to that particular event may be different. So a particular event may be traumatic to that particular person, and it may be the trigger for the fight between the two people. So in such cases, it is important to understand why is it that the person is regressing to the earlier stage. This place where they have regressed is a place where they have, they get comfort. This is more the case. For example, in domestic violence cases, let us say, the woman may not come and tell that, she's being mishandled, she's being treated poorly. She may not come and tell. She say, in my parents' house, this was there, that was there. And I'm so happy, this, that, everything else. Then she'll tell even about the husband's place, but she's regressing back and forth. Then there is need to find out. And similarly, in the case of abuse of students and a fight, superficially, the fight may be for marks or a grade in class, but the true reason may be that there is some kind of abuse that has taken place, which is the triggering point for the fight between the two people. Yeah, that's the reason the person is going back to the earlier state, regressing to the earlier state. So as a mediator, we have to be vigilant to any of such behavior patterns that we might observe. We need not add meaning to any of the behaviors, but we need to be aware and careful in active listening. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is an area which may not be relevant even in awareness or in normal mediation cases. But in mediation, we have this process called caucus, wherein sometimes in a fight situation, the two parties may not be willing to disclose all the information in the presence of the other person. Yeah, they'll tell some things and they'll keep something to themselves, which is relevant to the fight. And in such cases, it is important that the mediator find out that information. Sometimes the two parties may, one of the parties or both of them, they may want to speak to the mediator in secret and share this information. And with the permission of the party, the mediator can use this information for facilitation. However, in certain cases, in case the mediator parties are not sharing, these are some of the other guidelines that the mediator has to keep in mind for active listening. Yeah? Okay. So for active listening, let's assume that the person is complaining that he's being not being treated well on Sundays by his wife. They're having a row. Or supposing there is a father and son fight in the house, and the son says that he's always at home studying on Saturday, Sunday, on every weekday in the evenings he's studying, and the father is complaining to the mediator in the school that the boy's not been studying, he's been going here and there, everywhere on the mobile. So then, supposing the boy, by oversight or through a Freudian slip, he says that I was going to this place on that day, and it happened, you know, you look at the calendar and it happens to be a Sunday. So immediately we have to make a note of it that the father is saying the boy is not there at home on Sundays, Saturdays, not studying properly. And the boy is saying I'm at home. But then this information has come out that he's been going on Saturday, Sunday. Make a note of it and try to gather information on that. It's not law, it's simple common sense. Similarly, supposing in the case of data-driven errors, you know, a particular computer, something has been hacked, and there is a consumer dispute going on between the company and the other agency about computer hacking. Now, the other person, he's denying it. And there's no record of anything anywhere that it has been hacked. But then by chance in the mediation process, he says, okay, just give me a moment, I'll make a telephone call. And then, you notice that this person is not making the telephone call, and through this Freudian slip, he is punching the password of that laptop which has been hacked. Got it? Yeah. So we need to be aware of such things to be able to find out. This is an intense mediation, but still I'm telling you. And then supposing in the mediation session, the associative activation error. Now, supposing in this landlord-tenant case, so let us assume that the landlady is complaining that the telephone is not picked up, and we are going on telephoning, they are not even responding. And then the landlady says, tenant, she says that all the time my husband at the first ring, he keeps responding to the telephone. He's such a polite person. Why are you talking like that? Supposing the tenant says, let us assume. Then you make a note of it. But the next time you see that the tenant, he's sitting there, and some telephone call comes, and he's busy with his work or looking at some papers, or even the papers relating to the mediation settlement agreement, and the telephone bell rings. And instead of picking up the phone, he says, "Come in," thinking it is a door knock. Okay, so you have to check once again whether this person, he's saying that he's picking up the phone, but here he's not picking it up. He's so preoccupied with this other things. He's thinking it's a door knock, and he's saying it's "please come in." So these are all Freudian slips. Then we have certain verbal slips, like for instance, in case of again a matrimonial case, or in case of an affair or relationship in a college or something like that, then the parents are saying, you know, this relationship is causing problems, and things like that, and the girl says, "No, I kind of, that's not true." And then she says, I love my parents," she wants to say. But instead of saying "I love my parents," what comes out is "I love Raghu." That word Raghu has come out by mistake. These are some of the Freudian slips. It happens without your knowing. And there's another thing which, you know, I have also experienced myself. You'll be surprised to know. I joined as a counselor in the year 2004, or after about 20 years in a bank. I switched to academics, and then I was an orator in school and college, and you know, quite a busy person in the bank, things like that. I never had any speech issues. But then in the counseling job, in the beginning, a couple of times I found I was stammering. It happened just once or twice, because I had to give a presentation. A PowerPoint presentation was something that I did not know at that point in time, and I was just learning. So fortunately, I had a very senior consultant. He taught me everything. He was very fond of me. And I had to give this presentation in front of the director and very senior people in the organization at that point in time. But then when I sat and I started, I was kind of, I was stammering for half a second, something which has never happened in my life. When somebody is saying I'm very capable, you know, I can do this, when somebody is lying or under extreme stress, these are some of the things that can happen. And discoloring of the face and so on. So through active listening, these are the things that we need to keep in mind. We'll go through another video, another PowerPoint slide quickly. I'll share that. Yeah, so we have all these different emotions here. See? You need to be aware of them. So how does this feelings impact mediation? We understand perspectives if they are expressed clearly and well. And if it is not communicated properly, then it can lead to communication barriers. Now, how do we understand, how do we address this issue? For this, we need to have a feelings vocabulary. That is, we need to express the right word to express the feelings so that parties can understand what the mediator is saying and what they are saying amongst one another. This can prevent in misunderstandings. Now, active listening is important. Like, for example, if the person is saying, I am frustrated, exasperated, enraged, indignant, resentful, etc., then the issue is of anger. Supposing the person says, I feel let down or betrayed, disappointed, and so on, then we need to keep in mind that a person is hurt. Similarly, anxiety, being terrified, worried, it indicates fear. And being embarrassed and guilty, it indicates shame. Now, how to help parties through feelings? First is identify the action reflecting the feeling and ask, clarify with the party. Like, for example, supposing in the landlord-tenant case, we saw that the person, the tenant was not, she was feeling sad. Find out, ask, clarify, what is there something that is on your mind? And after that, separate the person from the problem. Here it is a case of, being upset over demise, but sometimes it may happen that negative information will be shared by the party, and in such a case, it is important not to be judgmental, and then help the other party understand the action-reaction sequence. Like, for example, in the landlord-tenant case, what had happened was that because of death in the family, they were not able to pick up the telephone of the landlord. So it is important for the them to understand, for the landlord to be told and to be understand that the reason for this is the death or demise of the father-in-law. So as a mediator, bringing about rapprochement between the landlord and tenant through this emotional sequence is very important. Making them understand why is it that the tenant did not pick up the phone. Similarly, why is it that the tenant was landlord was continuously asking for flat to be vacated? Why was it so special and important for him? So we have to make the parties understand. So we also, for this, we have to make the people understand, explain the entire sequence of event that led to the emotion. Now for this, how do we start? We have to start with each party stating, I feel. So instead of just saying he did this, he did that, or he is terrible, he is creep, such issues, each party can be made to start with, what is it that you are feeling? I feel this. I feel that I'm not being attended. I feel I'm not being taken care of. I feel that I need appreciation. So such things, it takes the sting or accusation out of the statements. And it's important as mediator, you go to one person once, the second person another time, and make positive and helpful suggestions all the time. Now, when there is too much of emotional ventilation happening in a mediation session, what is it that the mediator can do? For this, it is important, just summarize, try to deviate the mediation process, summarize what each party is saying. So in those 2-3 minutes when we are summarizing, we are getting time to think what is the next thing that we are going to do to take the mediation forward. And we have to encourage and give hope to the parties. We have to show concern and tell them that rapprochement is possible, that interdependence is the key to the solution, and we have to acknowledge and encourage them to acknowledge one another. Tell them you are in this together. This is very important. So this is all of these areas will be shown in the agenda setting and the action role play that we will find of landlord-tenant issues today. All these issues of emotion and paraphrasing, use of language, it will be shown in the agenda setting today. So emotions are very important in mediation. So they lead into conversation like in Freudian slips, and they can derail mediation process. So with this, we conclude the session for today, and thanks for being there. Bye.